Okay, so in this video, I'm going to try and explain spinning on rails maybe a little bit differently than you might have been taught before. There isn't really a lot to it. It's more of just the fact that you need to be comfortable sliding rails first. And when you start sliding rails comfortably, you almost want to be able to do like left foot forward and right foot forward. That way, when you go to spin onto a rail, it doesn't really matter which way you spin. You're going to land on the rail, and you'll be comfortable regardless of which way you spin. A good first rail to try this on might be a big butter box. That way when you first start spinning on the rails, you don't have to worry about landing centered in the rail and falling off either side just because it's so wide. Now as you can see, I have a hard time stopping myself from spinning once I get on the rail, and that's because it's so wide I'm not able to grip the outside edge, which I talk about a lot in my other video. You can kind of see I'm pressing on my toe, but it's not doing much. If whatever rail you're trying to do this on, you keep not being able to stop yourself from spinning, you need to land with your knees bent and pressing on that backside pedal to stop yourself from spinning. Once you start feeling comfortable on a wide box, you might want to go into a smaller box or a down box. That way it just kind of makes it a little bit more challenging, and you can just kind of work a little bit more towards the handrails and the bar rails. When you first start trying twos on the down rails, sometimes you might lean back a little bit too much, causing you to slip out or fall on your hip. When I first tried them, I fell probably 100 times trying to learn twos on, even on a fat box. So you just got to get back up and lean maybe a little bit more forward, but not so much, or else you'll catch your front edge. You have to remember that as you're coming in to do the two on, it's just like a normal jump. You have to come in with your legs bent, like shoulder width apart, and that doing the 2-7 on is almost just like a 360, it's a tiny bit less. So same exact thing goes for those 360 videos I made on having your arms up and your shoulders up. It's going to help you tremendously when you start doing your twos on and making sure that you're not leaning back or forward. If you fall off early, a lot of the times when you try and do a two on, if it's a ride on rail, the way you can fix it there is maybe by either coming out with the rail straight in front of you, or maybe even trying it from like an urban side, so coming on from the side of it a little bit. Playing with the way you take off onto the rail might fix it onto a ride on rail, but if the rail's an urban style rail, the way you can fix it then is maybe by right before you go to do the spin on, kind of glance or stare at the last foot of the rail. Doing that can kind of like trick your body into getting perfectly centered on the rail when you do a two on. When I do my two on and I land on the rail, I usually take a quick glance at my feet to make sure I'm on the rail good, and then I stare at the end of the rail. That way it feels like I'm just on the rail as if I were just to slide it and not even spin on. Once you have two sets comfortably on the ride on down boxes and ride on flat rails and boxes, the way to do it on the urban rails is actually really simple, and there's like one main key thing you have to keep in mind, and you should be able to do it onto almost any rail. The one trick to doing it onto urban rails is really as simple as you actually have to physically like look down at your skis, and as you pop up onto the rail, physically watch your tips come over the top of the rail and then let the rest of your body spin. So you have to basically set the 2-7 on, and as you're setting it, before you let your body spin, you really can't let it spin. You have to watch your tips come over the top of the rail. When you do that, then you let the rest of the momentum carry you around. One more thing to make sure that you get your entire rotation around onto the rail. When you watch your tips come over, if you're having trouble getting the 2-7 on and you're almost doing a 180 and just kind of nutting the rail, try and pick your knees up when you jump onto the rail. And then hopefully that'll help you have more time to get the rest of your skis around. That usually helps when you're going slower on the rails, but when you're going fast, you don't have to pick your knees up as much. Once you learn to do that very well, and you keep doing it all the time, it's actually pretty surprising what kind of rails you can do twos onto when like maybe you thought that might have been like an impossible trick to do onto certain rails. Like I used to think it would be like impossible for a skier to two onto an up rail, but really once you learn that if you watch your tips come over, it is possible. Just to almost like prove what I'm saying really does work, I got this rail that doesn't even have a lip onto it, and I was able to two onto that. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, it wasn't easy at all, but like it is possible. Alright, so that's the best way I could explain how to two onto rails, and that's what helped me the most, so good luck guys.